is Thursday of week 3 here on the Dimers Sports Betting Podcast. I'm your host, Greg, joined by my co-host, Dave. Thursday night football is upon us, and we're here to help you bet both Thursday night's game and the rest of the week 3 NFL card. I'm excited for this episode, our second of the week. Reminder to subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcast. Leave us a comment, leave us a like. Let us know if you're enjoying the show as much as we are doing it. We've got a futures update for you. Our model is up to date. We'll take you through the latest. We'll go through our same game parlay for Thursday night football. Our touchdown round robin is ready for the week, and plenty more throughout this episode. But first, Dave, how you doing, my friend? You ready for football tonight?
I am ready. I think it's going to be a good week. I don't know if we're going to get a good game to start. We'll see. We talked about that a bit on Tuesday. We'll talk about it a bit more later. If we cash the parlay, I don't really care how good the game is, though. But yeah, episode 5, a milestone. How about that?
Look at us. We're already setting records here. 5 consecutive episodes. You love to see it. Yeah, a true better there too, right? Who cares who wins? I don't care. I just want to win my bet. That's the goal. And hopefully our parlay can get us off to a good start for week 3. Let's start with some futures, though, as we usually like to do on this show. On the Thursday episode, we check in with our futures model to see the latest movement on what our model believes is the best value plays and the highest probabilities to go win the Super Bowl, even go win their division in the NFL. So take it away, Dave. What's the biggest developments with our futures?
Yeah, cool. So we'll highlight a couple movements, not a ton of major stuff after week 2, but a few notable spots in divisions and conferences, which we did briefly discuss on Tuesday. We'll start with the Super Bowl. I'll pull up our top 5 here. What we got. So Lions, 49ers, Packers all jumped to the Chiefs. Not super surprising there, given what we've seen over the past couple of weeks. But, you know, the model took a couple of weeks to actually acknowledge that the Chiefs may finally be on the downswing. Good to see for the Lions a bounce back. That pushes them back up in a top 5 spot here. You're not seeing the Packers in this, but they are just outside the top 5 in the 6th place. The model is finally giving them a little maybe late deserved, but the love that they should probably have. What you don't see in here is that the Chargers are continuing to climb. They're up to 4.3% from 2.5% to win the Super Bowl preseason. We talked about them in the AFC last week as actually the biggest mover there. So not surprising to see after another win that they climb a bit higher in Super Bowl projections. Anything else for the Super Bowl? Oh, the 49ers, 6.6% at plus 2,200. Its value. They were plus 2,000 preseason, actually. So you can get a little bit of a better price here. They are 1-1. They are missing Purdy, who may even be back here in week 3. That's kind of still to be determined. I'm going to speculate that it's probably another week or so. I mean, they look pretty good against the Saints. They let the Saints hang in there. But, McCorkle Jones took care of business at the end of the day. And the Lions have risen back up a bit after a brief drop in the odds to, I think, plus 2,000. They're plus 1,500, but at 7.3%, that's a little value. So there's some value to be had in the Super Bowl market if you think it's a top contender here. Certainly something to look at as the next weeks come around. Not much movement in the AFC, so we'll take a quick look at the NFC here. Rams are up 2.6% from preseason. They're now at plus 900, which is a fair price at our 9.4% probability to win the NFC and make it back to the Super Bowl for the second time in 5 years. So pretty good spot for them there. And that's pretty much the main value that you're going to get in the NFC. Anything down below is a long shot. There might be value there, but the teams are at very low percentage probabilities, so you're taking a risk. So quick look at some divisions. AFC South. This is one we talked about on Tuesday. I speculated that the Colts may even be as high as close to 50% to win the division. That was not completely correct, but we did see a major swap, and they jumped from 26.4% after their week 1 win to now favored in this division at 36.8%, a little shy of value at plus 145. You'll have to look elsewhere. You can get some on the Texans, but 0-2 starts are historically pretty bad, especially when you're winning the division, which is a record-based result. And then one more look. We kind of talked about this, but you got the Lions climbing back up the NFC North, as we discussed, not fair for the Vikings to jump them after one good quarter from JJ McCarthy. I'm sure you're happy about this, Greg.
Yeah, but what a quarter it was from JJ. But yeah, I'll go back to my Detroit Lions thinking we've got a good chance. Yeah, I think we mentioned some good shouts on last week's episode that it seems like have started to already play true as the Lions have leapfrogged the Vikings. And I want to mention one other shout here, and I probably could have tipped you off to this morning, but I've been looking at the NFC West odds as well, because you can get similar odds for the Niners and the Rams, and there's 3 2-0 teams in that division right now, which is crazy. But the model shows a 47% probability for the Niners to emerge as the champs of the NFC West, only a 28% probability for the Rams, even though they're priced almost the same, plus 165 and plus 170. So I do feel like it's very rare you see similar odds with almost a 20% gap in probability with our model. And this is, I think, the right time for me to jump on the Niners. So I've added that to my season-long card this week, the Niners to emerge in the NFC West as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you like the Niners, it's at least as far as value is concerned, it's probably a good thing that the other teams are hanging around, because they probably would have jumped to minus odds if you're looking at an 0-2 team here, 2 1-1 teams. But it's technically is anyone's division after 2 games. I think the Seahawks are 1-1, so there's 1 loss among 4 teams in this division. And yeah, it's not uncommon to see value on a team in the Super Bowl also have that value in conference and division. If the model really likes them, as it clearly does here with a 20% advantage over the Rams in the NFC West.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of different ways to bet futures. It's one of the ways you can get creative as a football bettor, and Dimers Pro is the tool that you need to help guide your futures bets all season long. Make sure you join Dimers Pro so that you get access to this information anytime you want it throughout all of the NFL season. All right, we mentioned it's Thursday night football tonight. We've got our Thursday night football same game parlay ready for you. We'll unveil it in just a moment. But first, let's take a quick look at our projections for Thursday night football. Dave, take it away.
Yeah, cool. So we also talked about this game on Tuesday, a little bit of an early look. We didn't have projections and stuff up yet because, as we mentioned, the doubleheader pushed the week of the NFL into Tuesday morning. So more time for our model to fully reset after the break between weeks. So we'll take a little look here. I'll pull up our projections. We're not going to discuss the game line as we've already talked about the various value there. We've talked about our best bet in this game and which was the under. So if you want to read that or see that, go check out the clip from Tuesday's episode. It's on YouTube. It's on the episodes on Spotify, Apple, everywhere. Check that out. So right here, we'll just look through the game itself real quick. So projected final score still in favor of the Bills pretty heavily, obviously. 52% to cover. Let's go down here. What I want to really look at is some receiving stuff. The Bills have a really interesting receiving core here. Keon Coleman had over 100 yards in week 1 before a quieter, much easier week 2 for the Bills. Hard to take a lot away from that game with such a blowout. James Cook really doing it all on the ground. This Bills passing game is just so crowded. It's really hard to get a bead on which receiver is going to step up any day, any game. Keon Coleman was drafted to be the guy. Hasn't really displayed that. This was his second career 100-yard game. He had 1 last year. Khalil Shakir, not the type of guy you would expect to be an upper echelon wide receiver, but in this offense, that's the role that he plays. But yeah, I mean, these guys spread the ball around so much, backing any of these receivers night to night can be pretty tough. And as you can see, I mean, we've basically got an even split among Coleman and Shakir. Josh Palmer not far behind, and Dalton Kincaid, the leading tight end. But I mean, the Bills even work in 2 tight ends. So it's just a really crowded receiver room. I would lean on these projections a bit to help you guide anything you're doing tonight. But like fantasy wise, it's tough to start one of these guys with confidence on a Thursday personally. I might fire him up on a Sunday if I'm in need of the flex, but unless you're hurting for a starter, I'm probably not playing a Bills wide receiver on a Thursday night game. That could be a blowout. Other thing I wanted to look at, Dalton Kincaid. We'll talk about him in our parlay in a bit, so I won't talk this to death. But second leading receiver, on the Bills so far. But he's been targeted 10 times for 2 games. Model projects him for 37, which is actually a couple yards higher than the other day. Tight ends have been featured really prominently versus Miami. They've been the second leading receiver for opposing teams in both their games. I think his 40 plus, 50 plus are definitely worth a look here. Some alternate lines. Obviously, the model has him for 37, so this is a personal vibe that I'm getting. But 37 is close enough to 40 for me, also where I like the model's upside in that. Maybe some very small units, 0.2, 0.1 on higher lines like 60 or 70. Maybe mix them in with a touchdown. What do we have him for there?
He's over this on his season average too, 43 yards a game right now. So
yep.
I think it seems totally reasonable as the spot here.
Yeah. I mean, you see him here touchdown wise. He's outside of our top 5. Not crazy surprising. He's probably hovering around actually, you can probably see that right here, 22%. So just outside this top 5. But if you're scared of the wide receiver core and it being spread around too much, at least there's only 2 tight ends to worry about. So I'm a big fan of Kincaid tonight. I'll definitely be playing some alternate lines, and hopefully he helps us cash there.
Love it.
Yeah, for the Dolphins, A-Chain's been doing it all. He's their leading rusher. He's got the most touchdowns out of anyone on the team. He's their second leading receiver. He's everywhere tonight. We'll talk about him in a little bit as well. Tyreek Hill, 70 yards, about splitting the difference of his first game and his second game. Jalen Waddle, I think, is questionable. I believe he's going to go through pregame workouts. It's usually a good sign that a guy's going to play if they expect him to work out. But we're hitting full Dolphins midseason form by wondering if Jalen Waddle is going to play in week 3 already. I think that's pretty much everything Thursday night football related. Actually, let's take a quick look. First touchdowns. They got first touchdown jackpot on FanDuel tonight. So if your guy scores the first or last touchdown, you'll split 1 million bonus bet pool for each of those. 1 million for first, 1 million for last. So I don't know. I personally like to go with a guy with a solid probability, but not the top 2 on each team. Maybe. I'm not touching like Ollie Gordon or Malik Washington here for the Dolphins. So I mean, Dalton Kincaid, there you go. It seems like a perfect one for me. I was just talking about how much I like him. Sneaky, well outside the top 2 on the Bills. But Dalton Kincaid is probably going to return you a nice chunk of bonus bets if he scores the first or last touchdown and you play him for an anytime. So pretty good return there if he gets in.
It's fun to use the touchdown model to help guide those bonuses too. It feels like a lot of different sports books are giving touchdown dependent creative bonuses. And obviously it's a fun one to participate in, but also can be lucrative if you are catching a share of the winnings, if you bet something. But, the strategy wise, it is dependent on choosing someone that the rest of the world is not choosing. So I do think the model can be very helpful in trying to figure out who to choose with something like that, rather than throwing a dart at a dartboard trying to pick a name. Find somebody that maybe there's a slight discrepancy in the middle tier of players in the game, not the biggest star, that is not going to be the greatest percentage here, but our model shows value in potentially finding the end zone. It can be a huge help to maximizing your profits on those types of promotions. So I'm with you on Kincaid. I actually just acquired him in my big fantasy league this week as well. And part of that was knowing it's a good matchup against the Dolphins. So I'll be laddering his receiving yards tonight with you and betting him to find the end zone as well. You know what? Let's bring our Thursday night football same game parlay up here. And it's going to feature a lot of the names that we just talked through here. You can play this one at DraftKings for plus 575 odds. They've also got a 50% boost that you can use on this as well. So I'll let you unveil this for us, Dave. Who we got?
Yeah, so as mentioned, here, let me hide that banner so you can see the whole thing. James Cook, Dalton Kincaid, Devin A-Chain for our Thursday night football same game parlay. You can actually, when I placed this morning, it was up to plus 600. So that boost got it up to plus 900, which is pretty nice. Yeah, but I wrote up the article yesterday, so I like to feature, as of publishing here. James Cook, 60 plus rushing yards, projected for 72.1 tonight. So it's a very favorable projection in our favor. He's hit this line in 1 of 2 games. Actually, this is the only prop in here that is not a 100% hit rate for 2 games. He's 132 yards versus the Jets, just 44 versus the Cardinals. Or, sorry, not the Cardinals. The Ravens, that other team that's a bird. Miami's allowed 71 rushing yards to Jonathan Taylor of the Colts out of the 156 team rushing yards allowed in that game, and 122 team rushing yards to the Patriots. Been really vulnerable on the ground to anybody running the ball. Josh Allen's potential limited rushing due to his busted nose and the visor could increase Cook's workload, but there's a good chance Cook can do this on his regular volume anyway. Leg 2, Dalton Kincaid, over 29.5 receiving yards. Like I said, his projection has actually gone up. We're about 37 now, so that's feeling really good. Project him for 3.0 receptions. He's cleared this in both games so far with 48 and 37, so not exactly close or a hook concern there. Miami has been vulnerable to tight ends. Tyler Warren took him for 76 and the second most yards in week 1. Austin Hooper for 38 and the second most on the team in week 2. It's a pretty prime matchup for Kincaid as a secondary receiving option, and the model agrees. And our final leg, Devin Achane, anytime TD score. He scored in both games this season, 75 yards and a touchdown in week 1, 29-yard receiving touchdown in week 2. He's the leading volume option across the board, especially out of the backfield as a receiver. Seeing at least 5 targets. 49.4% anytime touchdown probability pretty much implies fair odds of plus 100. So this is also just a good value play on its own with about a 2% edge, I believe. Fair odds are plus 102 on the money. So yeah, really good value on Achane. Strong projections for Cook and Kincaid in favorable spots. Plus 575 at publishing now, or this morning was plus 600. If you boost it, you'll get it even better. So let's cash this bad boy tonight. Dolphins-Bills.
Baby. Let's we can take a game that may not be all that exciting potentially, and make it pretty exciting by cashing this ticket. Don't you love when the odds go the right way too? I mean, that's the best. When an hour after you put a bet together, all of a sudden the odds are going even better in your direction. That's a fun thing to follow. So there you have it. Thank you, Dave. All right, we'll keep track and let you know how our Thursday night same game parlay goes by the time we get to the next episode next week. Let's take a look at some bigger storylines, though. There's a lot more beyond Thursday Night Football for week 3, and there are some items we here at Dimers are keeping an eye on using our player projections model. We can almost get a sense on if some things that have started through the first couple weeks of the season are likely to continue or are likely to sway back in another direction. I'll take the first one here. We've got 3 of these that we'll talk you through. For our first one, we're keeping an eye on the wide receiver split for the Chargers. Now, Ladd McConkey was the big name coming in. If you participated in a fantasy draft, you probably got him very early in it if he's on your roster. Well, Quentin Johnston, a guy you may have gotten on the waiver wire after week 1, after he exploded with that big play, finding the end zone, it continued in week 2. If you look at what these two have done through the early season, Johnson has actually outperformed McConkey by a pretty reasonable amount, 150 yards to 120 yards. Now, McConkey is the receptions guy. If you're in a PPR league, 11 receptions to 8. But Johnson's been finding the end zone 3 times this year through 2 weeks to Ladd McConkey's 0. On the surface, I think Dave and I, and probably anyone looking at this, would tell you it feels somewhat unsustainable for Johnston. And the Ladd McConkey, who really is the wide receiver 1 on this team, Justin Herbert's favorite target, should see some positive regression soon. But, you know, we've also been paying attention to what our player projections model says. And there is a little bit of a middle ground here as we look ahead to week 3. In week 2, Ladd McConkey was projected to score 17.1 points in a PPR league. And I call him Q, Quentin Johnston was at 10.6. Now, we're seeing a slight uptick for Q, and we're seeing Ladd McConkey's projection for the first time this year take a little bit of a dip. For week 3, we project 14.5 points for Ladd and 10.8 points for Quentin Johnston, which is the highest that our model has projected any given week. So I guess what is the conclusion here? We are seeing it become more of an even split. We still project Ladd as the better play here. Ladd has a 36.4% chance to score a touchdown according to our projections. Quentin is back at 28.2. you would expect variance, right? I mean, it's not going to be Johnson that finds the end zone every single time the Chargers score through the air this year. At some point, McConkey's got to be that guy. But it's at least noteworthy now that our model is starting to take Johnson more seriously. We called him out as a good waiver wire add early in the season.
Sure did.
If you did add him then, it might be time to start thinking about putting him into your lineups as well.
Yep. Yeah, I might have been hesitant to plug him in after scooping him up and starting him in week 2, but now I wouldn't really think twice about it. I'm not putting him in wide receiver 2, 3 healthy range, but absolutely as a flex. Yeah, I mean, realistically, not sustainable. You're not scoring 60-yard burners every game. You're going to get tackled at some point. The deep balls aren't always going to land in your hands. The man has had rocks for hands for the last 2 seasons. So if he's gotten that out of the way,
is that what happened last season? Did he just get new hands?
It could be it, and if it is, then the drops may be behind him and it's not a concern anymore. But 2 games of QJ. I'm going to call him QJ. You go Q. I'll call him QJ. 2 games of QJ going off like that. Good for long term, but I in the short term, don't give up on Ladd yet. He's still our model's prioritized wide receiver in the projections. So this week too, they got their toughest test probably so far with the Broncos. Shut down the Titans. They were pretty vulnerable to the Colts, who definitely more resemble the Chargers as a team. But certainly interesting. Definitely want to keep your eyes on. If Ladd has a big game, maybe even consider trying to sell high and get out of the split if you can get the right return in fantasy. But, for now, it's looking like it's getting a little more even, and hopefully there are brighter days for Ladd ahead.
Yep.
So I'll go with the next one here. Pretty major storyline, not just this week, but in general for the entire NFL season is, the Bengals are now going to be without Joe Burrow for about 3 months. It looks like. Realistically, they're probably cooked. Jake Brown, they're 2-0, which is about as good of a buffer as you can want if you're going to take such a significant hit. Jake Browning looked okay in relief. We talked about that on Tuesday a bit, but did throw 3 picks while throwing 3 touchdowns. So I don't know what you're going to get. Maybe split that difference a bit. But notoriously not good for the Bengals wide receivers and offense as a whole when Joe Burrow is out, which shouldn't be, a surprise or anything. But Jamar Chase averages about half as many PPR points in games without Joe Burrow compared to games with. I'm not taking him out of, lineups or anything, but you got to remove wide receiver 1 overall ceiling from your expectations here. Scoring a touchdown may be harder for him. He did get in last week with Browning in relief, but if I'm seeing odds like -140 and stuff for Jamar Chase, I'm probably not touching it. I doubt he's going to be having anything close to a fair price from our model, a fair probability rather from our model at a price like that with Browning under center. What's kind of cool in this is maybe the run game takes over with Jake Browning here. Chase Brown, as of last night, had a little 2+ touchdown value prop on Dimers. You got to check to see if it's still around. If those odds have changed, you might not get the same value. But the model expects the RB to feature prominently, maybe minimizing the turnovers for Brown. I'll take a quick look here while we're chatting. Let me see what our projections for Brown as a whole are in this game, which will also feature Carson Wentz. It's a double backup game. So, I don't know what you're going to get in this. Brown's 52.6% to score a touchdown. So still very, very positive there. 74 projected rushing yards. But, the receiving drops off pretty heavily after Jamar Chase, who has a 74-yard projection, which I think is maybe a little generous against a Vikings defense that's no slouch. Game with 2 backups could get ugly. I was considering, I put this in the notes. I'll definitely play this. I got some bonus bets on FanDuel, so watch me go. Chase Brown, Jordan Mason, 2+ touchdowns each. We have 18% probability for Chase Brown, 16% for Jordan Mason. So not nothing. Jordan Mason's in this without Aaron Jones. So hey, why not Give me a little
He said, "Watch me
$5
go.
bonus bet. Watch me
Clear out.
go." Yeah.
Let me rock. Get in the ball. Let our superstar cook. That's what we're gonna do. No,
Yeah.
what a bummer, because this should be like a fun Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson game, and instead it's just like, okay, how ugly is this gonna get? But I think the 2-touchdown lotto with Brown and Mason is probably the most fun way to approach this. At least I won't be surprised if both teams lean into it. Just personal conjecture to add here. I'm gonna keep an eye on this because I feel like we saw this with the Vikings before. They might not be that bad with Carson Wentz. They just might not be. He won a lot of games previously as a starting quarterback, and we know this is both a coach and a franchise that can win with kind of the forgotten veteran guy. They did it all last year with Darnold. So we've also seen the Bengals lose Joe Burrow and fall completely off a cliff. I kind of personally wonder if the Vikings might roll here, but you would think both of these teams are definitely going to lean on the backs just to try to get their new quarterback a little comfortable to start the game. So I'm in on the Brown Mason play, and we'll be keeping an eye to see if my Vikings theory is true or not. The last storyline that I'm keeping an eye on this week is in the Giants backfield. If you're a college football fan like me, you love this name, Cam Skattebo. He is just such a fun player to watch. He did everything for Arizona State in college in their run to the college football playoff. And one of those guys that I think, as a college fan, you adore him, you root for him in the NFL, but you don't actually think it's going to work out in the NFL. Well, 2 weeks into his career, it looks like it might work out in the NFL. He had 2 carries in week 1, all the way up to 11 carries in week 2 in a competitive game. It was not garbage time touches for Skattebo. So he found the end zone. He had a big run down to the goal line, and the Giants kept him in for the goal line touch as well. I felt like that was almost a moment of reassurance that, hey, we want to get this guy the touchdown he deserves. And, he's competing with Tyrone Tracy, who, respectfully, he's Tyrone Tracy. He didn't look good in week 1 because he's Tyrone Tracy, and we've seen him get opportunities throughout his career. He's a fine backup, but he's not going to hold off this position because he's a quality running back. So if Skattebo can just perform how he did in week 2 on a yards per carry basis, maybe break a couple big runs and find the end zone again, I think he has a chance to sort of emerge as the bell cow here. And I think the model is starting to show value here as well, because we project him 36.7% likelihood to score a touchdown in this game. That is higher than we project for Tyrone Tracy at 28.1%. Now, both those guys do get an edge, so it's not a bad look to potentially try and play either. But the yardage projections also favor Skattebo. 44 is our projected rushing yards for Skattebo this week to Tracy's 36. So I will be betting Skattebo in a variety of ways. He's such a fun player to watch this week. And I think I'm pretty pumped that our model shows that he might have the edge in the Giants backfield.
Yeah, you don't usually see the model like quickly course correct, I guess maybe would say, on a transitional change with like workload and a player's role in their offense. But this one seemed pretty clear. Tracy took 5 carries for 15 yards in week 2, which was actually a better per carry average than week 1, but they were just garbage runs. And I can't ignore the timing of which Skattebo got the looks. It was when it was winning time in the game, when they needed to win, when they needed to put the ball in the end zone, kill the clock, and put the Cowboys out of this game. It was Skattebo, and he came up clutch. Got an edge this week. Check out the model. There's I will say at least one touchdown edge on Cam Skattebo in this game. I will leave it at that as a little teaser. Go check out the projections on dimers.com. You might like what you see, especially if you're a Chiefs hater.
You gotta love it. That's such a great tease. All right. Yeah, you should check out diners.com for everything here. We have over 30 touchdown props this week, a dozen multi-touchdown props, a handful of first touchdown edges to go along with it, 15 plus best bets this week. More than half of those are what we consider high value, which means it qualifies beyond our 4% edge threshold. Anytime you see anything above 4% on the site, it's almost a must add to my card for the weekend at this point. So go check it out, dimers.com. Of course, make sure you join Dimers Pro so you can get your hands on all of our projections, best bets, and more for NFL season. Speaking of best bets, it's that time. Let's unveil our NFL Week 3 best bets.
Weekend best bets.
We're on a hot streak with these, Dave. Tell the people about it.
Yeah, we certainly are. Best bets featured on the podcast in week 1 went 4-0 between Thursday Night Football and Sunday. We talked about the spread and the under in that game. Got, as everyone knows, we got the grace of the football god with the under in that one with the delay, nuking all offensive movement in the second half. But a cash is a cash. Week 2, we faded Thursday Night Football as discussed on this podcast for the bets. Went 2-0 on Sunday for our game lines. We did miss our TD prop of Bucky Irving. I will say our week 1 TD prop was David Montgomery, and he got in week 2. Week 2 was Bucky Irving. If he gets in week 3, we might be onto something just a week after that trend. But, hopefully, we'll get in this week, and we'll get the whole sweep. So let me pull these up here. Top probability we'll start with Rams +4 at the Eagles. We talked about this on Tuesday. This has gone up a good bit, actually. We got an extra half a point, which makes sense for the increase in probability. But we've also gotten a significant jump up from 58.9% to 65.3% probability. The model is seeing something very good here for the Rams. The model loves the Rams in this spot. -125 odds on BetMGM, a little juicier than you like to see in a spread. You usually want that around -110, -112, -115 if you can get it. However, this high probability means that even at that little extra juice, you're getting a very strong edge, 9.8%. It's substantial. What it also is to me is it's under the too high edge in a game line for me. When I see it get over 10%, 12%, I start to wonder if we might just be missing a little something there, because these are sharp lines. And this is within the range that I would consider very playable for me personally. On Tuesday, I said I like this at 3.5, which I would have liked at 2.5, 1.5, whatever the model said with its spreads right now. But getting an extra half a point, which doesn't do a ton for any key number, but at least buys you a push. And the 59% probability. So I definitely like these numbers. Rams are in good shape. They looked excellent last week after a fairly quiet week 1 against a very good Texas defense. Eagles didn't quite look their best against a Chiefs team whose struggles we've discussed at length on this podcast. They're not showing the passing game upside I need to see to fade a projection of this high. Jalen Hurts threw for about 100 yards in week 2 on 22 attempts. Even with low volume like that, Jordan Love, I think, threw 22 passes in week 1 and definitely had more than 100 yards. I believe Hurts was averaging something like fewer than 10 air yards per pass attempt, which is not good. It's not good for the receivers. It's not good for moving the ball quickly down the field. If you are going to run the ball 35 times a game between Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, you're going to give the Rams chances to end your drives to stay in this. And I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset here. I bet we have value on the money line in this. That's me speculating. But if our edge is this good at +4 for the dog, I bet there's something there on the money line. If not, very close. Fair odds type of deal.
Yep. Yeah, I'll just add Rams, Chiefs, Eagles, Chiefs, right? Anytime you beat the Chiefs, Pat Mahomes, you're going to get this sort of boost of confidence publicly of like, you did it again. You knocked off the king. The Eagles have the narrative championship right now and the Super Bowl championship. They're a public team. They're a fun team. But this Chiefs team is not the old Chiefs team. This is not the team they obliterated in the Super Bowl. I was not impressed with either side in that Eagles-Chiefs game. And, to eke out a one-score win against the Chiefs while Pat Mahomes was missing throws left and right and just doesn't look himself.
Right.
I don't know how much we should put stock into the Eagles having a great performance there. So I'm with it. The Rams have looked phenomenal. I see what the model sees in this one, and this will be on the card.
Great. Sweet. Yeah. So Rams in agreement here. Let's move to our best edge, which is actually also the Rams, as you can see on the screen, 0.6% higher than our next. So we're going to go to the next best edge for our best edge of the week, which is the Browns plus 8.5. This was not this high probability on Tuesday. Not completely sure. That could have been because we were still processing some week 2 data. But we've seen favorable model movement here as well. Browns covered week 1 on the backs of their defense, absolutely stifling the Bengals, who couldn't even move the ball in the second half. Packers are 2-0 against the spread in both games. Total is only 41.5, which suggests a lower scoring game. Traditionally, that makes it easier for the underdog to cover, especially a larger number, fewer points, fewer scores to catch up. We do have a final projected score of 24-18 for the Packers. So just barely over the total, but almost a full field goal cover by the Browns is what's really boosting this 61.8% probability. Again, over a 9% edge, and you're getting this at that odds range that you like to see on a spread, -110 at DraftKings. It's a road game for the Packers. They scored 27 in both games. So if the Browns are going to cover this number, they can't let the Packers drop 27 on them on the road. I doubt the Browns are clearing 20 points in this game, which they pretty much will have to do if they're going to let the Packers run up the score and also cover this number. So, I like the model's projection or probability here and the value for the spread. Kind of makes me want to touch the under a bit, maybe in tandem with this, because I just don't think both are going to happen. If one happens, the other probably will, or the opposite. They're not going over, and the Browns covering this unless they are flipping this game on its head, blowing out the Packers, or running out the score and sneaking in with a final walk-off field goal or something. But
Joe Flacco glory days are behind him. That's what you mean to tell me?
Yeah. He's shown some flash in his advanced age, but I think everybody's ready for Joe Flacco to move on from football, probably even Joe Flacco.
Sure. No, similar spot. Just I would add, I think the model, the model isn't necessarily situational dependent, right? It's going to show value in the caliber of the actual teams, right, and where the sports books sets the lines at. But as a situational bettor myself, I would just add, you're taking both the Packers and the Eagles here as teams that are 2-0, riding as hot as you possibly can. Green Bay hasn't played out of Green Bay yet. This is a very traditional comeback to earth spot for 2-0 teams. We see it every single year. So I was already kind of situationally marking these, and to see the model back it up, it definitely makes you excited to potentially fade teams in that spot.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
And then for our last one here, we're going to talk about a touchdown prop. It is Jordan Mason. We took you through this game a little bit already and spoke to the idea that we like the running backs to get a heavy workload with the backup quarterbacks now stepping into the starting job. But our model shows a 53% probability for Mason at even money. I think that's fantastic value. It's a 2.7% edge. It's the highest probability that shows value on our site. The next highest probability for this week is back down at 45%. So anytime you see a probability greater than 50 that's also showing value, it's almost a must add for me on a week-to-week basis. Mason hasn't found the end zone yet, but I think he's looked great throughout the season. He is a goal line back. Like, he's a guy that we don't shy away from, almost like what happened to Bucky earlier this week that still gives me PTSD. If they're around the goal line, he's going to be in the game without Aaron Jones here. And again, Carson Wentz under center, I'm sure he can play still. I'm sure, I think he's 32, 33 years old. This isn't going to be the old Philadelphia teams that wanted to come out and throw Carson 40 times. Even if he does look the part, they're going to get a heavy workload in the hands of Jordan Mason in this game. So that'll conclude our three that show an edge here. Hopefully you see the value in these just the same way that we do, and we will lock those in as our week 3 best bets. Reminder, Dimers Pro is what you need to get insights in Thursday Night Football and all other games this season. You're going to want to take advantage for the rest of football season. So go check out Dimers Pro. Give it a try. Let us know how you feel about it. I promise you, you're going to like it, and it'll help you find some profits throughout the season. Next up, let's do my favorite part of the week every single week. Our first touchdown round robin. We cashed 3 of 5 back in week 1, which means if you did play it as a round robin, you found some awesome profits. No luck in week 2. Although, can you really blame us? We had Tyson Wallace, Michael Wilson, and Luke Farrell finding the end zone. Some of the most random first touchdown scorers we have ever seen in the games that we projected. But I know one thing from doing this for a couple of years. If you have an 0 for week in week 2, you're likely going to bounce back well in week 3. I've seen it happen time and time again, Dave. So without further ado, take us through it.
Yeah, we'd very much like to bounce back here in week 2. There was at least one guy in a game I had never even heard of before, and I've forgotten his name because I have never heard of him before. But it also makes you feel a little better too when it's somebody like that, and it's not the second guy on the team, your second choice. It's someone from the depths of the depth chart that truly just comes in and steals the show. So let's start here. We'll pull up our top 5 and run through them real quick. Bijan Robinson of the Falcons, top pick at 18.7% probability. 1 TD so far, first of the day in week 1. Guy gets unreal volume. Might be the best running back in the league behind Saquon. 7 rushes, 3 targets in the red zone. Panthers have allowed the first TD in both games. This is a good spot. Christian McCaffrey, 49ers versus the Cardinals, 18.1%. He scored in week 2, another running back with huge volume. He should be leaned on heavily again with Mac Jones under center. Potentially, I did see, since I wrote these notes, Brock Purdy could be playing in week 3, but it doesn't matter. It's Christian McCaffrey. He's going to get the workload. 9 rushes, 5 targets in the red zone. Cardinals have not scored a first quarter touchdown yet this season. Third up, we got Josh Jacobs against the Browns, 17%. Best red zone back in the game here. So far this season anyway. He's turned 11 touches into 2 scores, 1 in each game. Packers have scored the first touchdown in both games. The Browns have none. First touchdowns, that is, not 0 touchdowns. So they might as well have 0. Jonathan Taylor, Colts at Titans, 16% here. He's already been vultured numerous times by Daniel Jones, so this guy could have 5 touchdowns feasibly at this point. But he scored last week. Titans have been pretty gashed by the run game so far. Scoring first should not be difficult for the Colts in this game. He's tied for first with Josh Jacobs with 11 red zone rushing attempts. And finally, going back to our guy, Jordan Mason, Bengals at Vikings, just 3 red zone looks so far, but he'll be without Aaron Jones, as we've mentioned, making him the clear go-to option on the ground and in the red zone. All we need him is to get there, get a couple shots, and see if he could bang this in. The Bengals have not historically been a very good rushing defense, so we're not too concerned about that. We just need Carson Wentz to move the ball and give our guy a shot. And hey, these backs could break a big run. Many of these guys, literally all of them, are big play guys. Bijan Robinson scored on a 50-yard touchdown. Christian McCaffrey does that all the time. Jonathan Taylor makes a habit of these huge plays. So all 5 of these guys have potential to break a huge one from midfield and get tons of red zone looks if things get close down at the goal line.
Yep.
As mentioned, we play this as a round robin, so please spread out your stake appropriately across this. Don't go too hard on any particular combo. Scale it down appropriately. If you put $2 on the times 10, I wouldn't put more than $1 on $2 on the times 2 combos. I wouldn't put more than $1 on the times 3s, 50 cents on the times 4, maybe $1 on the $5 lotto. That'll win you $1.5K if the whole thing hits just on the times 5 plus all the combos. So you do not need to overexpose yourself here. Take too much of a hit to your bankroll on what is a long shot. While we have Dimer's data to back this up. Look, our top guy here is 19%. That means 81% probability Bijan Robinson does not score the first touchdown, but he is the highest of ours and the highest in that game. So, that's what we're leaning on here, but it will take all the right dominoes to fall for us. So remember, please scale your round robins appropriately. We got all season.
Yep. Big week for Jordan Mason. He's got an opportunity here to earn himself into the favor of Dimers Nation. So
it is, and good value on him all around. I forgot to mention it in the talking about the Thursday night parlay, but Yeah, he's plus 100, or sorry, not the Thursday night parlay, our best bets of the week. He's plus 100 for a touchdown at Bet365, but he's as short as minus 140 on DraftKings. So
Wow.
big value getting him at even money in that best bet. So as always, check to make sure you're getting the best odds too. I have limited books available to me in my location, so I have to make do with what I got. But some of you guys out there have 5, 6, 7, 8 sports books available to you. So don't short yourself some change just because you don't want to open another app.
And it's one of the most simple but educational, valuable ways to use dimers. Like I rather than sort through 8 different apps on your own price checking, go to dimers.com. Wherever you see our best bets, it's going to show you the best odds available. So check it out. All right, there you go. First touchdowns, cross our fingers. Let's have a good week with the round robin. Beyond that, we have both prepared a special angle or play that we are looking for week 3, Dave. So I'll let you go first and I'll go second here. What do you like in week 3?
Yeah, sounds good. So that's the wrong one. As I've done a couple times here, I've spun up a 3-leg touchdown parlay heading into the weekend. Week 1, we went all rookies and we came up one short with Travis Hunter. Week 2, we went 3 wide receivers who had not scored in week 1 that we like to get in, all over a 35% probability from Dimersbot. We came up one short with AJ Brown, who, as I mentioned, is probably on my fade list for now until I see that passing volume increase in the Eagles offense. But I digress. This week, we're going back to 3 wide receivers who have not scored a receiving touchdown. Puka Nacua does have a touchdown, but it was a 50-yard rush in week 2. And all 3 of these receivers have more, or at least 20 targets this season. 20 targets through 2 games, no receiving touchdowns. That's called being due. And we got CeeDee Lamb, 42% from the Dimers model. Puka Nacua, 35% from the Dimers model. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, 40% from the Dimers model. I got this at plus 933 on DraftKings. Shop around, as we mentioned. Make sure you're getting your best odds. But I like all 3 of these guys to get in. Personally, I like CD for 2. We saw what Amon-Ra did to the Bears last weekend. 3 touchdowns, one of his best games ever. Granted, the Cowboys don't have the gotta get you narrative that the Lions had against Ben Johnson and the Bears, but CeeDee Lamb is due, man. He's been a target hog. He's put up, I think, 100 yards in both games. And these Bears, as we know, are quite vulnerable. So don't be surprised to see CD make an Offensive Player of the Year statement this week, which is a bet I put in this week, by the way, plus 1,400.
Wow. Yeah. Nothing can get a player right like the Chicago Bears secondary. So,
unless they play for the Chicago Bears.
Unless that's very true. Oh, man. All right. I love it. Almost 10-1 odds there for Dave's touchdown parlay. I will be tailing. That's a fun one for sure. All right. I'm going to get cute with my play here for week 3, and I'm pretty excited about this one. So I was Slack messaging our internal timers team here to share a ticket I had over the weekend that hit, and it was a 25-plus yards quarterback rushing parlay. Now, I had Baker Mayfield and I forget who else it was. It was the other quarterback in the Baker game last week, but they had longer odds. It ended up roughly 10-1, and it was just a really fun ticket to watch. You're basically looking for 1 to 2 big break pressure, break containment scrambles, and that big run from Baker that ended up winning Tampa Bay the game and extended that drive was the run that ended up cashing my 10-1 ticket. So I'm now, I don't know, convinced that this is outside of the touchdown round robin, one of the most fun things you could put together for week 3. And I'm using the Dimers player projections data to help guide this. So I've got basically a 12-1 ticket, 5 different quarterbacks, all to hit 25 or more rushing yards. Now, I will note, these are just the 5 that I chose. You could certainly use the projections model to pick different players if you want to tweak this. Jaden Daniels is also projected well over this line. Caleb Williams, another quarterback that was projected right around 25. So we have 7 quarterbacks projected to be in the general vicinity of 25 yards or more. The 5 that I'm going with, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts, Josh Allen, Drake May, and Bo Nix. Now, if you are to look through our player projections tab, Patrick Mahomes projected 31 rushing yards this week. Drake May, 27 rushing yards this week. Bo Nix is 24.5. So I'm going to do some generous rounding up to me here to get to 25.
Good
and
enough
then we know Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen are projected to knock this out of the park every single week. They're going to be projected upwards of 45 to 50 rushing yards here. So I love this value-wise, 12-1. I think it's a really fun way to use the data to try to build kind of a lotto-type ticket. And again, from my personal experience from week 1 watching Baker do it, or week 2 watching Baker do it, I think all these guys are mobile, and it only takes one. It takes one big break containment down the sideline, 20-yard run, and you're feeling like you're in a great spot for this. So go Bo Nix, go Drake May, 12-1, using the Dimers projections to help us get there.
You know, if there's one that I love in this, it's the Patrick Mahomes one as well. That run game for the Chiefs stinks. So who's doing it? Patrick Mahomes, 57 yards in week 1, 66 in week 2, 6 carries and 7 carries. And I'll give you another little teaser. I put together our soon-to-be boosted Sunday Night Football same-game parlay today, and there just may be Patrick Mahomes rushing yards prop in there.
Wow, I love it. All right, we're aligned, and that's always a good thing. One other note, too, that does have Josh Allen, who's in the Thursday night game that we've talked about a bunch. If you don't get this for whatever reason before the Thursday night game is done, feel free to run it with just the other 4 legs or sub in Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels as well. Those are the other 2 that we really like at the projections of above 25 rushing yards this week. If you do Caleb, you'll end up with better odds than 12-1 because he'll give you longer odds than Josh Allen for sure. So, all right, there you have it. That's everything on our week 3 NFL card this week. Dave, we've got a couple other things to watch for.
Yeah, just a couple things. So WNBA playoffs still going on. Huge night for us, actually. Been a really great series, except for the Lynx coming back from a wild comeback actually last night to win the series. It's 1-1 for the other 3 first round series. So we have our Aces futures in play, our Mercury future in play, and my personal Atlanta Dream plus 3,500 future in play. Need them to win tonight and close out the fever. So definitely check our WNBA playoffs projections. We got them for tonight. Whole rest of the playoffs. First baskets, player props, best bets. Moneyline best bets were on a heater this year. WNBA, maybe we'll touch on that next week ahead of the next rounds. We'll look at where our model is humming and maybe check out what it's been doing in the playoffs, which are obviously a very different atmosphere. Baseball's winding down. Final full week of MLB is coming up. So if you want to get in your every team, check out what we got right now. We got NFL Projections Hub is cooking. Loaded up for week 3. Every game on the slate, every player, fantasy points, PPR, half PPR, anytime touchdowns, first touchdowns, 2+, 3+. It's loaded. You could spend hours in there if you want, digging up, just trying to find the perfect ladder play, build the perfect lotto, try to get rich quick off $1, and see if the Projections Hub can take you there. Take some grinding, but put it to work. Get in there. It's a really great tool. It's full of data. One of the most comprehensive things we have on the entire site by far. And of course, our best bets updating all the way up until kickoff. So if you miss some early value, see where the closing line value is at come Sunday morning.
Yep. Always give it a check. It's part of my daily routine on Sundays at this point. And you can get lost in the projections tab. Obviously, when I'm putting together a 12-1 quarterback rushing yards ticket, that's a good example of that. But I swear, I'll just scroll at night sometimes, like looking for creative avenues to try and find some value. And you can truly end up killing an entire day going through that.
I
so
feel like the Bilbo Baggins meme. I'm like, after all, why could one more QB for 25 rushing yards hurt? Right. One more 2+ touchdown prop.
More. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm assuming anyone listening to this, anyone that is as into sports betting or just sports as we are, Dave, like it's like heaven. It really is. So go check it out. It's some great data to help you enjoy your favorite
Sure is.
sports even more and make some money. Reminder, gamble responsibly with all things. We want to help you make money, but we want to help you do so the right way. We've got 2 episodes of this show every single week. Tuesdays and Thursdays is when you can get them. We've had a blast doing it thus far. We hope you've had a blast listening. Don't forget Dimers Pro, our football season pass, promo code football. Go get yours at dimers.com/subscription. Dave, thank you as always, my friend. Good luck to all our listeners at home. We hope you make some money this weekend, and we'll see you for week 4 next Tuesday.
Peace.